Good evening. Welcome to Contemplations on the Ashtavakra Gita Part 6. We're getting through it. We're getting through the... Again, I've got to remind myself how many lessons there are. 20 lessons, I think. Oh, that was a long one. Yeah, 20 lessons. And we're on lesson number 9, which tonight is about detachment. Okay. It's been about 3 days since I did the last video. Didn't really feel I had much to say. Just getting on with life, really. Life in lockdown, life in this crazy kind of mixed sort of energy that we're existing at the moment. This kind of crossroads, if you want to call it that. There's a lot of stuff out there at the moment that, from my perspective, is attracting my attention a little bit. I guess it might be some subtle vulnerabilities in me, some ego in me, which wants to know a bit more, wants to kind of understand whether trust is something that we can really do in times like this. And I always like to look back on history. Yeah, you look back on where, at some level, people have been easily manipulated to rally behind what at some fundamental level might feel like a cause. Save the NHS. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm not saying it's something that we shouldn't be doing. But we have to be very cognizant and aware of our own motivations. Because the ego's a tricky little bastard, right? It's a tricky little bugger. Because if you're going into this with a lot of pride, oh, look at me, look how good I am, I'm saving the NHS, look at me, I'm socially distancing, look at me, I'm playing the game so well, I'm such a good boy or girl. There's a lot of pride involved in that, isn't there? There's a lot of pride, oh, look at me, a lot of narcissism at the end of the day. And especially when we start to project at others who, might be questioning it a little bit, might be entitled to their own free-thinking principles, but because of your own conditioned mindset, again, you might be projecting at some level this view that people that aren't might be questioning the status quo are selfish, they're not playing the game, they don't really know what they're talking about. And again, that's very egotistical as well. There's a lot of there's a lot of arrogance in that. There's a lot of pride and arrogance in that too. And pride and arrogance, I guess, if you're walking through various ego shadow gates through your life, yeah. A lot of people talk about vibration, right? I mean, yeah, I sometimes talk about the word vibration. Raise your vibration, but you need to exist in a very grounded vibration on this planet right now. You can't spiritually bypass all this fucking stuff that's going on at the moment. Yes, you can do a global meditation to raise the Schumann resonance of the planet. Yes, you can give gratitude, you can show love, you can spread your light and do all this kind of stuff, which is all well and good. But if someone knocks on your door and says, I'm going to stick this needle in you, okay? You don't need to worry about what's in this little vial that I'm going to inject into you. You just need to know that it's now mandated that you have this whatever, call it a vaccine, right, stuck in your arm. What are you going to do about that? How are you going to love and light your way out of that if at some level that doesn't feel right? That doesn't feel like you've got any free will over that decision. Now, if you've ever studied metaphysical law, spiritual law, not egoic, man-made law, spiritual law, okay? Do what thou wilt, but take responsibility for the consequences of your choices. And if if there is an imposition of someone else's will over your will, that's called force. It's not power. There's a big difference between power and force. Force is weak. Force requires a resistance. Force requires, at some level, an energy to feed it, to strengthen it. Power stands in its own right. Power doesn't need anything. Power is just serene. Power is peaceful. Power is content. Power can say no. No matter what force is coming at it, it doesn't have to agree. It doesn't have to give its power away through vulnerability, something that is trying to feed off it. There are many forceful types of emotions or states of consciousness, let's call them, not emotions, states of consciousness that we exist in almost simultaneously. There are also some very powerful states of consciousness that our being beyond this physical body, exists in simultaneously. I'm going to list a few to just give an example. So some forceful states of consciousness are shame, guilt, apathy, anger, fear, grief, desire, and pride. These are very forceful. They're weak. They need something to feed them. They need something to justify them. They need something to exist within their own right. So if you're existing within these states of consciousness and you're not aware of them, you're giving your power away. You're giving your power away. Courage, neutrality, acceptance, willingness, peace, joy, love, enlightenment. These are powerful states of consciousness. They need nothing in return. They're powerful. You don't give your power away when you're standing in truth, when you're standing in courage, when you're standing in joy, when you're standing in acceptance, willingness, when you have these, some people call them higher vibrational states of consciousness. Now the truth is, as humans, we're up and down this crazy matrix, this crazy ladder of states of being almost daily, all right? Depending on how much of our own consciousness and awareness is trapped in little bottles and jars of illusion, samskaras, egos, demons. Yeah? And depending on how many or how much of your consciousness is trapped in these little empty shells, let's call them, that need your consciousness to exist, will determine your perception on reality, will determine your perception on what you project onto your sense impressions through the physical body. So how you interpret your life, how you interpret situations around you, how you interpret people around you. So these empty jars are like filters. They're like lenses. And the more lenses you have, the more opaque, the more opacity there is between truth and your version of it. If I were to put on 8 pairs of sunglasses now, I'd be sitting in the dark, right? It wouldn't be dark out there, there'd be a lot of light, yeah? But I'm in the dark because I've got all these filters, these corruptions in front of me. So, discerning truth at the moment, with everything that's going on around us, challenging, questioning, keeping an open mind, free thinking, because thinking's important, even for spiritual people, even though you're saying, oh, meditate your way out of the thought process. Nah. Yes, meditate your way to realize truth, but then come back. Come back and ground yourself and play well. Yeah? We need you. We need you to play well. So, as we get latched and hooked into, let's call them temptations of the ego, maybe even temptations of the soul, because at some level the ego is part of the soul. You know, these bodies that we exist in are part of the soul. These personalities we have are part of the soul. They're part of our stream of consciousness, of eons and eons and eons and infinities of existence. And the longer your stream, the deeper the soul. Yeah? The more stuff that there might need to be to kind of get through, to get some clarity, to reduce the opacity that could be filtering your perception of absolute truth versus subjective truth. And there's a big difference between the two. Big difference. So come back to our current planetary situation on the open prison that is called planet Earth right now. Not so open. My camera's just gone blurry again, so if I've gone blurry, apologies. Start to question the information that's coming from all sources that you're looking at the moment. Understand it. Ask people. Openly debate it. Even if you can't get together with people, do it through chat channels, do it through Zoom, do it through stuff that at some level allows that kind of open debate about many sides of an argument. Okay? Please, it doesn't matter which camp you're in or you're on, allow people the freedom of expression and speech. You don't have to agree with it. You don't have to do anything about it. Okay? But if you don't allow someone to speak, if you don't allow an opinion, if you don't allow people to express themselves, you're a tyrant. And your ego and your pride and your conditioned attitude is in the way. There's a difference between not agreeing with someone and imposing and forcing your will over someone. And we've all done that to an extent in our lives. I'm not speaking from a pedestalized position of grandeur and enlightenment. I'm probably as far away from enlightenment as the horses in the field opposite my house. But I keep my mind open. Okay? And sometimes it gets filled with junk, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes out of the junk you can get a bit of gold, but you got to swim through the shit. You got to dig deep. You know, to get the diamond, to get the gold out of the ground, you got to dig into the earth. Yeah, you got to get through all the chaos and the crap and all the nonsense in order to extract the essence, the truth, if you want to call it that. I've gone blurry again. See, opacity. Thank you, phone, for showing me how blurry I am. Oh, there we go again. So, even the stuff I'm talking about, if you think it's nonsense, feel free to turn me off. I don't care. And don't believe a fucking word I say. Don't believe a word of this book either. You have to experience things for yourself. You have to experience things for yourself to know truth. Okay? You have to experience things yourself to know truth, gnosis, knowledge. So, you might ask, oh, why are you teaching us stuff out of the Ashtavakra Gita? Because if you haven't reached truth, I haven't reached truth, still working on it. Not working so hard, it'll come. I'm trusting it will come. Yeah? But now and then you need a roadmap. You need a bit of help. You need a bit of kind of guidance. Are you way off base here? Or are you kind of following a path which might eventually get you to truth? If you're interested in truth, you might not be, and that's fine. Plenty of time, to play this everlasting game of creation. But at some point, you might start to want to question. You might want to take that, was it the red pill or the blue pill? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Say it was the red pill. And if you've taken the red pill and you're starting to come out of your conditioning a little bit and starting to question your life and question reality and question everything that you have taken and identified with, and every now and then you need some people on the other side of that red pill to help and guide you. All right? And this book is great guidance, because this book, once you deeply go into it, once some of these teachings you deeply go into, they can really help you. They can give you a bit of a map, a roadmap, to help you come to terms to understand your thought processes. And many people get to these openings in different ways. Okay? So anyway, enough of that nonsense. Let's get on with the lesson of detachment. And Ashtavakra said, opposing forces, duties done and left undone. When does it end, and for whom? Considering this, be ever desireless. Let go of all things, and to the world turn an indifferent eye. Rare and blessed is one whose desire to live, whose desire to enjoy and to know has been extinguished by observing the ways of men. Seeing all things as threefold suffering, the sage becomes still, insubstantial, transient, contemptible. The world is fit only for rejection. Was there an age or time men existed without opposites? Leave the opposites behind. Be content with what is. Perfection. The greatest seers, saints and yogis agree on little. Seeing this, who could not be indifferent to knowledge and become still? One who, through worldly indifference, through serenity and reason, sees his true nature and escapes illusion. Is he not a true teacher? In the myriad forms of the universe, see the primal element alone. You will be instantly free and abide in self. Desire creates the world. Renounce it. Renounce desires and you renounce the world. Now you may live as you are. So whether you noticed or not, some of what was said in that lesson goes completely against what I said prior to the lesson. Because not all of us are ready to renounce desire. Not all of us are ready to renounce the world. We're still like little kids and we like to play and we want to be involved, and the kind of, our sense of ego and identity is still very strong within us. And we have to be honest with that. You can't get to where you're going unless you know where you are. Yeah? You can't fucking pretend to be something that you're not. You can try, but generally you'll end up falling on your ass. So be honest where you're at. If you like certain desires in you, if you want to keep playing the game, play the game, but play it well. Play it well, but keep in mind that it's a game. Keep in mind that life is meant to be lived with joy and kindness and compassion and powerful states of consciousness. Not fear, not apathy, not acquiescence, not guilt or shame. Okay? Not anger, and certainly not pride. So, see you next time. Take care.